Hi guys, this is for B1 lesson video, and these are the examples 6, 7, and 8. Just like we did in the last video, we're going to look at factoring out the GCF, So we know that when we see a term, or rather an expression like we do here, we're going to notice that we've got three terms. This first term has an invisible add. If you don't see an add or subtract, it's invisible. And then each term is separated by an add or subtract, okay? So that's the way we're going to figure out how many terms we have. And what we need to do is we need to make a box that has one row, okay? And then it's going to have the same number of spots as we have terms. Then we're going to put our terms right inside each spot. So one term, one spot. So this 14x squared y goes here, 14x squared y. Then we'll put our second term, and of course we're going to bring that sign. So the sign to the left of the term, it sticks with that term. It stays with it. And our last term, 7xy. Out in front of that box, that's where we're going to put our GCF. It'll go out front here. And now we're going to look at each of these terms. Remember, we've got that number part to look at. And then, of course, we have a variable part to consider. So for our number part, we want to look at our short list. Our short list is here. That's that 7, and that's just that 1 and 7. So we're going to notice that 21 has a factor of 7, and so does 14. So we know that our GCF for the number part will be 7. Okay, for the x part, just have an x to the 1 here. So that's all we can do. Here's an x squared. So we got more there. For sure, we've got x's everywhere. And only a y to the 1, a y to the 1. So our GCF has to be 7xy, okay? And then when we divide out that GCF from each spot, we're going to look at what we're going to need to multiply the GCF by to get back to what we've got here. So we've got a 7. We're going to need to multiply it by 2 to get to 14. We've got x to the 1 here. We're going to have to multiply it by another x to the 1 to get back to this x squared, okay? We already are at y to the 1, so we're good there. We don't need any y. We're going to bring this plus up for our next spot. Our 7 needs to multiply a 3 to get to 21. We already have the right x's, but we do need to multiply y times y to get to y squared. Here we've got a subtract. Really important to be careful of those signs. We'll bring that up. In order to get back to our 7, we just need a 1. It'll be invisible. We already have this x and a y. So here we just need that 1 and multiply as a placeholder, right? We don't usually pick that 1s, but when there's nothing else, that's when we use it. So we'll take that GCF. We'll put it out in front of our answer, 7xy. Then we need a set of parentheses for those terms on the top. They'll go on the inside, just like you see them up top, okay? And that's our answer, guys. Let's take a look at number 7. Number 7. Okay, 1, 2, 3 terms. So I need a box with, for factoring out the GCF, remember it's just one row, but we need the same number of spots as we have terms. So that 8 will go here. Then we'll have the subtract 10a in the next spot and add 12b here, okay? Out in front of that row, or of our box, that is where we'll want to put our GCF. So let's take a look at our 3 terms. We do not have a variable on this first term. That means our GCF can't have a variable. But let's look at the number part now. What's the largest number between these two? Guys, if you're not sure, take a minute and write it out. Well, we know these numbers aren't the same, so those 1 times, those aren't really going to help us, are they? We've also got a 2 times 4 here and a 2 times 5 here. This guy's got a 2 times 6 and a 3 times 4. Okay, we've got 4s and 5s, but you know what? Not in every list. So the best we can do is to factor out a 2. Our GCF for this expression is going to be the 2. No variable part because that first term doesn't have a variable, okay? So don't worry, as you continue finding those GCF problems, you'll get it. Now, what I want to go over right now is just a reminder about how to use your calculator to find the GCF. So when you're using the calculator, if you were wanting to compare 8, 10, and 12, so you want to use the calculator in class. The command that we see on the calculator is actually shows up as GCD, and we talked in class a lot about how greatest common factors and greatest common divisors are synonyms. They mean the same thing, or greatest common denominator even. But greatest common divisor, greatest common factor, that is a GCD is what the command is on your calculator. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to press to get that GCD up on the calculator. And what we're going to press is the math button, which is right underneath that alpha button. We're going to also press the arrow right button and then the number 9. We do not press enter. When we press these 3 buttons, we'll get a GCD and an open parentheses. What's important to remember is we can only do 2 numbers per command. And so if we want to compare 3 numbers, we need 2 GCD commands. We need the number of terms that we're comparing minus 1, and that's how many GCD commands we need. So we're going to go ahead and press these number again. We'll get another GCD open paren. Here's where we're going to put those first 2 numbers. Remember, we always separate those numbers by a comma. Okay. After 2, we have to close the parentheses, give ourselves another comma, and then we'll do that 3rd number. Okay. After we're finished putting in all the numbers we're interested in, that's when we can press enter, and it will return our answer of 2. Now, guys, we did go over this in class. If you're not sure about how to use your calculator for finding the GCF, make sure you come see me, okay? And we can go over it some more. So back to our answer, we'll put that GCF out in front, then a set of parentheses, okay? But look, we haven't divided it out yet, so we're going to have to go back and do that. So what are we going to need to multiply the 2 by to get to 8? Well, of course, 4. We'll bring that subtract up. We need to multiply 2 times 5, but look, no A here, so we also need to multiply by A. To get to 12, we'll have to multiply the 2 by 6 and then a B. Guys, don't forget to bring your signs up. Between each of your terms, you need to have an add or subtract. So for every line here, you've got to have an add or subtract. And then, of course, once we've divided out the GCF, those terms on the top go inside our parenthesis. That's our answer, guys. And if you can always check your answers here. You can always distribute the 2 and double check. That's the great thing about factoring. You can always check to make sure you've gotten the right answer. Let's do our last one real quick. This is number 8. On number 8, we have 3 terms. So we'll go ahead and make our box here. Three terms, so we want 3 spots in our box. And then we'll go ahead and we'll just put those terms inside, okay? So our first term that we're looking at, 4a minus 6b for our second term, and then plus 2. Out in front is where we'll put our GCF. Let's look at our terms. Our number part and our letter part. Now this last term, no variables. So that's our short list. And in fact, this 2 is actually got the fewest factors as well. And so our GCF for all 3 terms, each of these also have a factor of 2. Our GCF has to be 2, okay? When we divide that GCF out of 4a, okay, what will we need to multiply 2 by to get back to 4? That's a 2. We don't have an a here, so we definitely have to multiply it by a as well. Here we're going to bring the subtract up. 3 times 2 will give us that 6. We'll also need to multiply by a b to get the 6b. There's our at. We'll bring that sign up. And look, here's a 2 already, so we've got to put a 1 in there. Guys, don't leave any spots empty. If you already, if you got a matching term, don't forget, you'll put a 1 there, okay? All right, so we'll bring our GCF down. We'll put it in the front. We'll put a set of parentheses for the terms on the top. Now this is how to factor out the GCF, how to factor out the GCF. And this is your answer. For example, number 8 on your 4B1 notes.